I was sitting in my apartment in Tribeca when my phone lit up. Not a call, not a text. A video. Sent from a blocked number at 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday night, the same night my divorce was finalized. I almost didn't open it. But something in my gut, that same instinct that had kept me alive through 18 years of marriage, told me I needed to see this. So I pressed play. And I watched my entire world collapse in 4K resolution. There he was. Adrian. My ex-husband of exactly 6 hours. Standing on the deck of a yacht so massive it looked like a floating palace. White leather. Gold railings. The kind of boat you see in Architectural Digest with a price tag that makes you dizzy. He was wearing that navy suit I bought him for our 10th anniversary. The Tom Ford one he said was too expensive when I surprised him with it, the one he promised he'd save for special occasions. Apparently, this qualified. And sitting on his lap, her legs draped over his like she owned him, was her. Cassandra. 28 years old. Blonde. Tan. Wearing a white silk dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. She was laughing, head thrown back, champagne glass raised high like she'd just won the lottery. And maybe she thought she had. Adrian's hand was on her stomach. Not just resting there. Cradling it. Like there was something precious inside. I felt my throat close. We never had children. Not because I didn't want them. God, I ached for them. But Adrian said we needed to wait. First it was law school. Then the bar exam. Then his first case. Then his partnership track. Then the big merger. Then the election for district attorney. Soon, Sana, he'd say, kissing my forehead like I was a child who didn't understand how the world worked. Just let me get settled. Let me build something first. So I waited. I waited while I worked 3 jobs to put him through Columbia Law. I waited while I turned down my own career opportunities so he could take a position in Manhattan. I waited while he built his reputation, his network, his empire, all on my back, my time, my sacrifice. And now here he was. 6 hours divorced. Hand on another woman's belly. The camera zoomed in as someone shouted, "Speech, speech." Adrian stood, pulling Cassandra up with him, his arm tight around her waist. He raised his glass. The crowd, at least 30 people I didn't recognize, went silent. "To freedom," he announced, his voice booming across the water. Everyone cheered. "To the real woman beside me." Louder cheers. Someone whistled. Cassandra kissed him. Long, deep, performative. And Adrian, my Adrian, the man who told me 2 months ago that he'd always love me even though we were growing apart, kissed her back like she was oxygen. I should have turned it off. I should have thrown my phone across the room. But I couldn't move. Because in the corner of the screen I saw something that made my blood turn to ice. A notification. A banking notification. Flashing across the bottom of someone's phone that was recording the whole thing. Transaction attempt, $8. 5M declined. My hand started shaking. $8.5 million. That was the exact price of the yacht he was standing on. I knew because I'd seen the listing 3 weeks ago when I was gathering evidence for the divorce. Adrian had forwarded it to someone, probably Cassandra, with the subject line, "Our future." He was trying to buy it. Tonight. With money he thought he still had access to. Money he thought he'd hidden. Money he thought I'd never find. But here's the thing about being married to a man who underestimates you for 18 years. He forgets you're watching. He forgets you're listening. He forgets that while he was building his career, you were building something too. Knowledge. Access. Leverage. 3 months ago, I hired a forensic accountant. Not the kind you find on Google. The kind you hear about through whispers in divorce attorney waiting rooms. The kind who used to work for the IRS and now freelances for women like me, women who married ambitious men and woke up one day to find themselves erased. It took her 6 weeks. 6 weeks to untangle the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the real estate holdings buried under his mother's maiden name. 6 weeks to find the $307 million he'd tucked away. Money we'd built together. Money from investments I'd researched, startups I'd connected him to, deals I'd advised him on while he told his colleagues he had a good instinct for business. And 2 days before the divorce was finalized, I froze it. Every single account. Adrian didn't know yet. The freeze wouldn't show up in his primary accounts for another 48 hours. By then he'd try to make another purchase. Maybe the yacht. Maybe a penthouse for Cassandra. Maybe a ring. and every single transaction would bounce. In front of everyone. I watched the video 3 more times. Each time, I saw something new. The way Cassandra's smile faltered when Adrian mentioned freedom, like maybe she knew she was part of a transaction, not a love story. The way Adrian's jaw tightened when someone asked, "Where's the money coming from, man?" The way he lied so smoothly, "I've been planning this for years." The video ended. The screen went black. And in the reflection, I saw my own face. Calm. Still. But my eyes, God, my eyes were burning. I set the phone down on my kitchen counter. Poured myself a glass of wine. Not champagne. I've always hated champagne. And I whispered into the silence of my empty apartment, the apartment I bought with my inheritance, the one Adrian never contributed a dime to. "You shouldn't have done that, Adrian. Not tonight. Because tomorrow morning, his lawyer would get the call. And by tomorrow afternoon, every society page in New York would know the truth. The golden boy DA with the perfect life and the perfect mistress was about to lose everything. Not because I was cruel, but because I was careful, and I had been careful for a very long time. The smell of burnt garlic brings it all back. I'm standing in my kitchen now, years later, but suddenly I'm 24 again. In that cramped studio on the Lower East Side with the radiator that clanked all night and the window that never quite closed. I can see myself at the stove, stirring pasta in a pot we got from the Salvation Army, wearing Adrian's old Columbia sweatshirt because we couldn't afford to keep the heat on past 6 p.m. He was sitting at our kitchen table, which was really just a desk we'd found on the sidewalk, practicing his pitch for venture capitalists. His laptop was propped up on textbooks I'd bought used, and he was reading from note cards I'd written out for him the night before while he slept. "Sana, does this sound too aggressive?" he called out. "We're not just disrupting the market, we're redefining it?" I turned down the heat on the stove. "It's perfect," I told him. "But maybe add something about scalability. Investors love that word." He scribbled it down. "You're brilliant, you know that?" I smiled. I was working 3 jobs back then. Morning shift at a law firm as a paralegal, afternoons doing bookkeeping for a boutique in Soho, nights waitressing at a bistro in the West Village, where the tips were good if you laughed at the right jokes. Adrian had just started his 2nd year at Columbia Business School. His student loans were maxed out. His startup idea was eating money faster than we could make it, and his parents had made it very clear that if he married me, the trust fund was off the table. So it was just us, and my 3 jobs, and his dream. I didn't mind. That's what I told myself. I was building something too. I was building us. When Adrian's first startup failed, he was devastated. He sat on our fire escape for 2 days, barely speaking, staring at the city like it had personally betrayed him. I didn't have 2 days to grieve with him. I had a choice to make. My mother had died the year before and left me her brownstone in Brooklyn. 3 stories, gorgeous original molding, a garden in the back. It was the only thing of value I'd ever owned, and I'd planned to hold on to it forever, maybe raise kids there someday. But Adrian needed $180,000 to pay back investors, to save his reputation, to get another shot. So I sold it. I didn't tell him I cried in the lawyer's office when I signed the papers. I didn't tell him that I walked past that house every Sunday for a year afterward, watching strangers live in the rooms where my mother taught me to bake bread and read poetry. I just came home, handed him the check and said, "Let's try again." He kissed my forehead. "I'll pay you back, Sana. I swear." He never did. His 2nd startup took off. Not spectacularly, but enough. Enough to sell it. Enough to get him into law school. Enough to start building the life he'd always imagined for himself. And I was there for all of it. Editing his law school essays. Networking at events where I was always introduced as Adrian's wife and never by name. Managing his finances because he was too busy and I was so good with numbers. His mother came to visit once, 3 years into our marriage. I cooked for 2 days, trying to impress her. She sat at our dining table, picked at her food, and said to Adrian, "Well, at least you married someone useful. Every man needs a good financial mule." She laughed. Adrian laughed. I smiled and cleared the plates. That night Adrian found me crying in the bathroom. "She didn't mean it like that," he said. "She's just old-fashioned." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that all of this, all the work and sacrifice and smallness I'd folded myself into, was building toward something. Toward partnership. Toward the life we'd promised each other on our wedding day, when we had nothing but hope and discount rings. But there was a moment, just one moment, that I should have paid more attention to. We were at a fundraiser for his DA campaign. I was wearing a dress I'd saved for months to buy, standing next to him, smiling for photos. A journalist asked him, "What's the secret to your success?" And Adrian, without hesitation, said, "Vision, discipline, and knowing when to cut loose the things that hold you back." Everyone clapped. I felt my stomach drop. He squeezed my hand. I thought it was reassurance. Now I know it was goodbye. If you've ever given everything to someone who later turned away, you'll understand this part. You'll understand how the little moments add up, how the sacrifices become invisible, how love can turn into a transaction so slowly you don't even notice until you're standing in an empty apartment, watching a video of your husband celebrating his freedom with someone new. Thank you to everyone who helps keep these stories alive. Every word you share, every act of kindness helps protect those who still believe in family, who still believe that love should mean something. Because I still believed, even after 18 years of being useful instead of cherished. Even after becoming the woman who built the empire but never got to live in it. I still believed that somewhere inside him, the man I married was still there. I was wrong. I found the documents by accident. That's the part that still gets me. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I was looking for our tax returns because our accountant needed them for the filing, and Adrian said they were in his home office, top drawer, left side. They weren't. But what I found instead was a folder marked Clearwater Holdings LLC. I'd never heard of it. Inside were bank statements, transfer records, corporate filings dated back 7 years, and every single one of them had Adrian's signature. $127 million in assets, real estate in the Caymans, investment portfolios in Singapore, a penthouse in Miami I'd never heard of, all hidden under a shell company registered in his mother's maiden name. My hands started shaking so badly I had to put the papers down. 7 years. He'd been moving our money, my money I'd helped him earn, money from investments I'd researched and connections I'd made into accounts I couldn't touch for 7 years. I sat on the floor of his office, surrounded by evidence of a betrayal so calculated, so methodical, that I couldn't breathe. And then I saw her name. Talia Rousseau. Listed as executive consultant on 3 different subsidiary accounts. Talia, the PR assistant I had hired for him 2 years ago. The sweet 26-year-old with the bright smile who always complimented my earrings and asked how I was doing. The girl I'd mentored, given advice to, invited to our home for dinner. She wasn't just sleeping with my husband. She was on his payroll. I heard the front door open. Adrian's voice echoed through the apartment. "Sana, you home?" I should have confronted him right there. I should have walked out with the folder and thrown it in his face. But I didn't. Something told me to wait, to watch, to see how deep this went. So I put everything back exactly as I'd found it, closed the drawer, and walked into the living room with a smile I didn't feel. "Hey," I said, "how was your day?" He kissed my cheek. "Exhausting. I'm starving." And I made him dinner like I had 1,000 times before. 3 days later, I got a call from our family lawyer. "Sana, I need to talk to you about something," he said. His voice was tight. "There was a board meeting yesterday for the Adrian Hale Foundation." "Okay," I said slowly. "I was on the board. I'd helped Adrian set up the foundation 5 years ago. Your name was removed from the board minutes, effective immediately." The room tilted. "What?" "Adrian filed an emergency motion. He claimed you were unfit to continue due to personal instability." His mother seconded it. It passed unanimously. I couldn't speak. "Sana, I don't know what's going on, but you need to get your own lawyer. Right now." I hung up. And I finally understood. This wasn't a sudden betrayal. This wasn't a midlife crisis or a moment of weakness. This was a plan. A plan they'd been executing for years. The final confirmation came 2 weeks later at what was supposed to be a family reconciliation dinner at his mother's townhouse on the Upper East Side. I didn't want to go, but Adrian insisted. "It'll be good for us," he said. "She wants to make peace before the divorce is final." I should have known better. We sat in her formal dining room, Adrian, his mother, his sister, and me. The china was Wedgwood. The wine was older than I was. Everything was cold and perfect and suffocating. His mother dabbed her mouth with a linen napkin and looked at me with eyes like ice. "Sana," she said, her voice smooth and final. "I want you to know that we appreciate everything you've done for this family." I felt my stomach turn. "You were very useful, particularly in the early years when Adrian needed support. Adrian stared at his plate. His sister sipped her wine. His mother continued, "But usefulness expires. Surely you understand that." The room went silent. She wasn't asking. She was telling me. I was being dismissed, erased, like an employee who'd outlived their contract. "You'll be well compensated, of course," she added. "Adrian's lawyers have prepared a very fair settlement." Fair. I looked at Adrian. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. And I realized, sitting there in that pristine dining room with people I'd called family for 18 years, that I had never mattered to them. Not as a person, not as a partner, only as a means to an end. I set down my fork, slowly, carefully. "Thank you for dinner," I said. And I walked out. If you've ever trusted someone so deeply that their betrayal made you question your own worth, you're not alone, you're not crazy, you're not weak. Thank you to everyone who helps me tell these stories. Your support keeps this space alive for those who still believe that truth, somehow, will always find its way. Because that night, driving home through the rain on the FDR, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to let them erase me. I was going to fight. And I was going to win. The apartment is so quiet I can hear the refrigerator hum. It's been 3 days since the dinner. 3 days since I walked out of that townhouse and drove home in the rain. 3 days since I've spoken to anyone. My phone sits on the kitchen counter, screen dark. No calls, no texts, not from Adrian, not from his family. Not even from the friends we used to see at fundraisers and gallery openings, friends I now realize were never really mine. I pick up my coffee mug. It's the same one I've been using all morning. I've washed it 4 times. I don't know why. There's nothing else to do. The light in the apartment is different now, flatter. Like the sun doesn't want to come all the way in anymore. I sit on the couch, our couch, the one I picked out, the one I saved for, and I stare at the wall. There's a small crack near the ceiling. I've never noticed it before. I start counting the smaller cracks that branch off from it. 7. Then 12. Then I lose count and start over. This is what grief feels like when there's no funeral. No flowers. No one bringing casseroles and saying they're sorry for your loss. Just silence. And the growing realization that the life you thought you had was a story someone else was telling, and you were never the protagonist. I went to the grocery store yesterday. I needed milk. I didn't need milk, I haven't been eating, but I needed to leave the apartment, to remember what it felt like to be a person who did normal things. At the checkout, I saw Monica Chen. We used to serve on the foundation board together. I'd helped her daughter get an internship at Adrian's firm. She saw me. I know she did. But she turned her cart around and walked down another aisle. I stood there, holding a gallon of milk I didn't need, and I understood. The word had gotten out. Adrian's people had done their work. I wasn't just divorced, I was discredited, unstable. The bitter ex-wife who couldn't let go. I left the milk on the conveyor belt and walked out. At night, I lie in bed and replay everything. Every conversation. Every decision. Every moment I chose to believe him when some small voice inside me whispered, "Something's wrong." Was I really that blind? Or was I just that desperate to believe that love was enough? I think about the girl I was at 24, standing at that stove in our tiny apartment, stirring pasta and believing we were building something together. I want to reach back through time and shake her. Tell her to run. Tell her that the man reading note cards at the kitchen table will one day sit across from his mother and watch silently while she calls you useful and nothing more. But I can't. So I just lie here, staring at the ceiling, listening to the city hum outside my window, a city full of people with lives and plans and futures, while I'm suspended in this terrible in-between. I haven't cried in 2 days. I think I'm too tired to cry. This morning, I opened my laptop for the first time since the dinner. My inbox was full of automatic notifications, bank statements, calendar reminders, subscription renewals. All the infrastructure of a life that's still running even though the person living it has stopped. I almost closed it. But then I saw an email from my father's estate lawyer. Subject line, final document release, Sanaa Clark, Hale. My father died 8 years ago. I thought everything had been settled. I clicked it open. Inside was a single PDF, a trust document, dated 3 months before my father passed. I started reading. And my heart, which had been so quiet for so long, started pounding. My father had created a protection trust, a failsafe. Buried deep in the corporate structure of Adrian's company, the company we'd built together was a clause designating me as the ultimate beneficial owner of the liquidity fund. $300 million. Adrian didn't know. His lawyers didn't know. Even I didn't know. But my father had known. Somehow he'd seen what I couldn't. He'd seen Adrian's ambition, his coldness, the way he measured people by their usefulness, and he'd protected me. There was a note attached, handwritten, scanned. Sanaa, people reveal themselves when they believe you no longer need them, but the wise protect themselves long before that moment comes. I've watched Adrian. I've seen how he looks at you when you're not looking back. This is not paranoia. This is love. Protect yourself first, always, Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I opened another folder the lawyer had attached. Emails, between Adrian and Talia. Recovered from a shared cloud account my father's forensic team had flagged years ago. Once she signs the divorce papers, transfer the rest. She's emotionally weak. She'll fold. Yacht party Friday will celebrate her stupidity. I sat there, staring at the screen, and something inside me that had been shattered began to reform. Not healed. Not whole. But sharp. If you've ever sat in a room so quiet it started to echo your thoughts, you'll understand this silence. The kind that's not empty, it's full. Full of every lie you believed, every moment you were too kind to see the truth. Thank you to those who help keep these stories alive. Your kindness helps give voice to people who've been forgotten, who sit alone in their pain, waiting to be seen again. I closed the laptop, and for the first time in days, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I don't call Adrian. I don't scream. I don't cry. I don't send angry texts at 2 a.m. demanding explanations I already have. I do something much more dangerous. I get organized. The morning after I read my father's documents, I wake up at 5 a.m. I make coffee. I open my laptop. And I start building a plan so quiet, so surgical, that no one will see it coming until it's already done. First, I call my father's estate lawyer. His name is Richard. He's 73, semi-retired, and has never liked Adrian. Richard, I say, I need you to activate the trust clause, today. There's a pause. Then I hear him smile through the phone. I've been waiting 8 years for this call, Sanaa. By noon, the paperwork is filed. The $300 million liquidity fund, the one Adrian thinks he controls, the one he's been siphoning from for years, is frozen. Every account, every transfer, every line of credit. And the legal authority now sits with me. Not Adrian. Not his mother. Not the board he thought he owned. Me. Second, I contact an old colleague from my paralegal days. She works for the SEC now. I don't ask for favors. I just send her a file. Offshore transfers, shell companies, dates, amounts, names. I thought you'd want to see this, I write. Anonymous tip. She replies in 4 minutes. Holy shit. I close my laptop. Third, I email the company CFO. His name is Martin. He's worked with Adrian for 12 years, but I'm the one who hired him. I'm the one who recommended him when Adrian wanted someone cheaper. Martin, I write. I need you to revoke all executive permissions under Adrian Hale's access profile. Effective immediately. Per Trust Clause 4.2b, I'm assuming operational authority. New passwords to follow. He calls me within an hour. Sanaa, are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Okay. He says quietly. It's done. Fourth, I book a conference room at the Yale Club for Friday morning. I contact 3 journalists I know from Adrian's campaign days. I don't tell them what the press conference is about. I just say, you'll want to be there. They all confirm. And fifth, this one makes me smile. For the first time in days, I buy a ticket to the yacht party. Not under my name. Under my mother's maiden name, Clark. The party is invitation only, but Talia's assistant is 22 and doesn't know who I am. I tell her I'm a donor. She sends the QR code within an hour. I print the ticket and tape it to my fridge. Every move I make is small, calm, invisible, but lethal. If you've ever found truth in the quiet moments after pain, you know what this part feels like. The clarity, the cold, clean focus that comes when you stop asking why and start asking what now. Thank you to everyone who supports these stories. Your kindness keeps hope alive for people still finding their voice after betrayal. I don't sleep much that week. But I'm not tired. I'm awake. On Thursday night, my phone buzzes. A text from Martin. It's done. The accounts are frozen. He tried to transfer $12M this afternoon. Declined. He's called me 6 times. I didn't answer. I stare at the message. Then I text back. Good. Let him wonder. I set my phone down. And I pour myself a glass of wine. Not champagne. I still hate champagne. Tomorrow, Adrian will wake up and realize his empire is gone. Tomorrow, his lawyers will scramble. Tomorrow, the press will ask questions he can't answer. But tonight? Tonight, I sit in my quiet apartment, and I let myself feel something I haven't felt in years. Power. Not over him. Over myself. Friday arrives like any other day. The sun rises over the East River. Coffee brews. The city moves. But I am not the same person I was a week ago. I stand in front of my closet, choosing what to wear to a yacht party I was never invited to. I pick a simple black dress, nothing flashy, nothing that screams revenge. Just a woman who knows exactly what she's doing. I arrive at the marina at 8 p.m. The yacht is impossible to miss, a 180-foot monument to excess, lit up like a floating palace. Music pulses from the deck. Champagne flows. Beautiful people in beautiful clothes laugh like the world belongs to them. I scan my ticket at the gangway. The attendant barely looks at me. Enjoy the party, Miss Clark. I step aboard. No one recognizes me. Why would they? I was never the woman Adrian showed off. I was the woman who stayed home, who worked behind the scenes, who made everything possible while he took the spotlight. Tonight, that invisibility is my greatest weapon. I move through the crowd slowly, a glass of sparkling water in my hand. I watch. I listen. I wait. And then I see him. Adrian stands on the upper deck, Talia pressed against his side, his arm around her waist like she's a prize he's won. He's wearing a white linen suit. His smile is wide, careless, drunk on ego and champagne. He raises his glass. "Can I have everyone's attention?" he shouts. The music dims, people turn, phones come out. "Tonight," Adrian announces, "we celebrate freedom. We celebrate new beginnings." And he gestures grandly at the yacht beneath his feet. "We celebrate the purchase of this magnificent vessel." Cheers erupt. Talia kisses his cheek. Someone pops another bottle of champagne. A man in a suit, the yacht broker, steps forward with a payment terminal. "Just need your signature and payment, Mr. Hale, and she's all yours." Adrian grins. "Let's make it official." He pulls out his Black American Express card, the one with no limit, the one he used to joke was our safety net. He slides it into the reader. The terminal beeps. Declined. Adrian frowns. "That's weird. Try it again." The broker does. Declined. The crowd starts to murmur. Talia's smile falters. Adrian pulls out another card. "Here, use this one." Declined. His face goes pale. His phone buzzes. Once, twice, a dozen times. He pulls it out, and I watch from across the deck as his eyes scan the notifications. Transaction declined. Insufficient funds. Account access suspended. Security alert. Beneficial owner has assumed control. Your corporate accounts have been frozen. Contact Sanaa Clark Hale for authorization. Adrian's hand starts shaking. "What the hell?" he whispers. People are staring now. Phones are recording. He looks up, scanning the crowd like he's searching for an explanation, for someone to tell him this is a mistake. And that's when our eyes meet. I step forward. Slowly. Every step deliberate. The crowd parts. Adrian's face drains of color. "Sanaa?" I stop 3 feet from him. I don't raise my voice. I don't need to. "Hello, Adrian." Talia steps back. The broker looks between us, confused. "What are you doing here?" Adrian hisses. "I was invited," I say calmly. "Well, not as myself. But I'm here." He glances at his phone, then back at me, and I watch the realization dawn. You did this?" "I did." My voice is steady, clear. "When you threw me away, you forgot something important." The crowd is silent now. Every phone is pointed at us. "Your money," I say quietly, "was never yours." Adrian's jaw clenches. "Sanaa, don't do this." "Do what? Tell the truth?" I turn to the crowd. To the phones. To the people who came here tonight expecting a party. For 18 years, I say, my voice carrying across the deck, I funded this man's life. I worked 3 jobs to put him through business school. I sold my mother's house to cover his failures. I built his reputation, wrote his speeches, made his connections. And when we became successful, he hid our money in offshore accounts and planned to erase me. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Adrian steps forward. That's not. It is true, I cut him off. And I have proof. I pull out my phone. I connect to the yacht's entertainment system, the same system Adrian used for his announcement. The massive LED screen behind him flickers to life. Emails appear, dozens of them, between Adrian and Talia. Once she signs the papers, transfer the rest. She's emotionally weak. She'll fold. Yacht party Friday. We'll celebrate her stupidity. Gasps. Whispers. Someone says, "Oh my God." Talia backs away, her face pale. The screen changes. Bank transfers. Dates. Amounts. Every dollar Adrian moved into accounts I wasn't supposed to know about. Then a video clip. Adrian's mother at that dinner, her voice cold and clear. Usefulness expires. The screen goes dark. I look at Adrian. His face is red. His hands are fists. "You had no right," he starts. "I had every right," I say softly. "My father made sure of it." The broker clears his throat. I'm going to need a different form of payment." Adrian stares at me. "Sanaa, please." For a moment, I see the man I married, the man I loved, the man I believed in. But that man was never real. "Goodbye, Adrian," I whisper, and I turn and walk away. Behind me, I hear the murmurs explode into chaos. I hear Talia's voice, sharp and panicked. I hear Adrian shouting something I don't bother to understand. I step off the yacht, onto solid ground, and I breathe. For the first time in years, I breathe. My phone buzzes. A text from Richard, my lawyer. "Press conference is set for tomorrow, 10 a.m. The world's going to know the truth." I smile. And I walk into the night, no longer invisible. The press conference starts at 10 a.m. sharp. I arrive 15 minutes early. The room at the Yale Club is smaller than I expected, maybe 40 seats, all filled. Journalists I recognize. A few bloggers. 2 TV cameras in the back. And in the third row, trying to look invisible, Adrian's PR team. I take my seat at the table in front. Richard sits beside me, his briefcase open, documents stacked neatly. A microphone sits between us. The room smells like coffee and expensive cologne and something sharper anticipation. At 10:02, the door opens. Adrian walks in. He's not supposed to be here. This wasn't announced. But of course he came. He can't help himself. He's wearing a different suit now. Gray. Expensive. His hair is perfect. But his eyes are wild. He stops when he sees me. "Sanaa," he says, loud enough for everyone to hear. "What the hell is this?" I don't answer. Richard stands. "Mr. Hale, if you'd like to stay, please take a seat. Otherwise, security can escort you out." Adrian's jaw clenches, but he sits, back row, arms crossed. I can feel his rage from across the room. Richard clears his throat. "Good morning. Thank you all for coming. My client, Sanaa Clark Hale, has a statement to make regarding recent events involving her former husband, Adrian Hale, and the misappropriation of marital and corporate assets." Cameras click. Pens move across paper. I lean forward. My voice is steady. "For 18 years, I believed I was building a life with my husband. I worked multiple jobs to fund his education. I sold my inheritance to cover his business failures. I managed his finances, wrote his speeches, made his connections. I gave everything I had because I believed we were partners." I pause. Let it sink in. 2 months ago, I discovered that for the last 7 years, Adrian had been systematically transferring our assets I helped build into offshore accounts under shell companies I knew nothing about. The total amount exceeds $127 million. Gasps. Murmurs. Adrian shifts in his seat. "He did this," I continue, "with the help of his mother and his mistress, Talia Rousseau, a woman I hired as his PR assistant. They planned to finalize the divorce, cut me out entirely, and divide the money among themselves." A journalist raises her hand. "Do you have proof?" Richard slides a folder across the table. "Bank statements, corporate filings, email correspondence, all documented. I looked directly at the cameras. 3 days ago, using a legal trust established by my late father, I froze $300 million in corporate funds that Adrian believed he controlled. I also reported his offshore transfers to the SEC. The room erupts. Adrian stands. "This is slander." "You can't." "Sit down, Mr. Hale," Richard says sharply. Adrian doesn't sit. "She's lying. That money was mine. I built that company." I finally look at him. And I speak softly. So softly the room has to go silent to hear me. "You built it with my money, Adrian. With my time. With my sacrifice. And you know it." His face goes red. "You want to talk about who built what?" I continue, my voice rising just slightly. "Let's talk about Columbia Business School. Who paid for that? Let's talk about your first startup. Who covered your losses? Let's talk about every investor you ever met who introduced you." He opens his mouth, closes it. "You spent 18 years convincing me I was useful, that I was necessary, that we were a team." My voice cracks, just for a moment, and the second you didn't need me anymore, you erased me. Silence. "But you made one mistake, Adrian." I stand. "You underestimated me." Richard pulls out his laptop. He connects it to the projector. The screen behind me lights up. Adrian's emails to Talia. Every cruel word. Every calculated lie. Then financial records. Transfers dated back 7 years. Every dollar he hid. Then a video clip. His mother at that dinner, her voice cutting through the room. Usefulness expires. The journalists are scribbling furiously. Cameras are flashing. Adrian is shaking. "Turn it off." "Why?" I ask. "You wanted everyone to see your success. This is part of it." "Turn it off," he shouts. But no one moves. The screen goes dark. I sit back down. "As of yesterday," Richard says calmly, "Adrian Hale has been removed from the board of Hale Ventures. The SEC has frozen his offshore accounts pending investigation, and Miss Clark Hale has assumed full control of the corporate trust fund established in her name." A reporter calls out, "Mr. Hale, do you have a response?" Adrian stands frozen. His PR team is already leaving. Then his phone rings. He looks at it. His face goes white. He answers, "What?" We can't hear the other side. But we can hear him. "What do you mean you're leaving?" Talia, wait." He hangs up, stares at the phone. Then he looks at me. And for the first time in 18 years, I see fear in his eyes. Not anger, not control. Fear. "You destroyed me," he whispers. I shake my head. "No, Adrian. You destroyed yourself." I stand. I gather my things. And I walk out of the room, cameras flashing behind me, my head high, my hands steady. Outside, the November air is cold and clean. My phone buzzes. A text from Martin, the CFO. "Board vote was unanimous. He's out. You're in." "Congratulations, Miss Clark Hale." I close my eyes. And I let myself feel it. Not revenge. Justice. 3 weeks after the press conference, I'm sitting in the corner office on the 42nd floor of the building Adrian used to call his kingdom. It's mine now. Not because I took it. Because the board voted unanimously. Because the truth has a way of rearranging power when you let it speak. The city stretches out below me, endless, indifferent, beautiful. I sip my coffee and watch the morning light crawl across the skyline. My phone buzzes. A news alert. Former DA candidate Adrian Hale faces SEC investigation, assets frozen, career in freefall. I don't click it, I already know. After the verdict, silence became my favorite sound. It was the sound of justice finally breathing. The fallout came fast. Within 48 hours, Adrian was removed from every board he sat on. His law license was suspended, pending ethics review. The SEC froze not just the offshore accounts, but every asset tied to his name. The penthouse he'd planned to buy for Talia? Gone. The yacht? Repossessed. The political career he'd spent a decade building? Destroyed in a single news cycle. I didn't have to lift a finger. The truth did the work. Talia left him on day 3. I heard it from Martin, who heard it from someone at the firm. She packed her bags, called an Uber, and disappeared back to wherever she came from. No goodbye. No apology. Just gone. Turns out, Love built on someone else's money evaporates the second the account balance hits zero. His mother tried to spin it. She went on a podcast, one of those society gossip shows, and said I was bitter, vindictive, that I'd orchestrated a smear campaign because I couldn't handle being replaced. But then someone leaked the video from the dinner, her voice cold and clear. Usefulness expires. The internet did the rest. Within 24 hours, she was a pariah. Her charity board asked her to step down. Her country club suggested she take a leave of absence. People she'd known for 30 years stopped returning her calls. I didn't need to ruin them. Their lies had already done that. I see Adrian sometimes, not on purpose. New York is big, but certain circles are small. Last week, I saw him coming out of a Starbucks in Midtown. He was wearing jeans and a jacket I didn't recognize, cheap, off the rack. His hair was longer, he looked tired. Our eyes met for half a second. He looked away first. I kept walking. There was a time I would have wanted to say something. To make him feel the way he made me feel, small, erased, disposable. But I didn't need to anymore. Because the truth is, revenge would have made me just like him. And I didn't survive 18 years of being underestimated just to become the kind of person who crushes others for sport. So instead, I did something that confused everyone. I issued him a severance package. Not millions, just enough. Enough to cover 6 months of living expenses. Enough to pay for therapy if he wanted it. Enough to rebuild if he chose to. Richard thought I was insane. Sanaa, you don't owe him anything. I know, I said, but I owe myself peace. Because here's what I learned. Some debts don't need to be collected. Life has its own way of balancing the books. Adrian's punishment isn't poverty. It's living every day, knowing that the empire he thought he built was never his, that every success he celebrated was funded by a woman he threw away, that his name will always be attached to the word fraud. That's a prison no amount of money can buy your way out of. I walk to the window and press my hand against the glass. It's cold. The city hums below, taxis, sirens, construction, life. For 18 years, I thought my value was tied to someone else's success. I thought love meant sacrifice without recognition. I thought being good meant being quiet. I was wrong. Real justice isn't revenge. It's restoring what was stolen from your soul. And mine, it's finally mine again. I think about the girl I was at 24, the one stirring pasta in that tiny apartment, believing love was enough. I wish I could go back and tell her, you are enough, all by yourself. Don't wait for someone else to see it. But maybe she had to learn it this way. Maybe we all do. My phone rings. It's Richard. Sanaa, the board wants to meet next week. They're talking about expanding into international markets. They want your input. I smile. Tell them I'll be there. I hang up and look out at the city one more time. In New York, people will take everything if you let them: your money, your labor, your kindness, your youth. So protect your heart the same way you protect your bank account. With clarity. With boundaries. And when necessary, with silence. I grab my coat. I have work to do. Not to prove anything to anyone. Just to live the life I always deserved. The elevator doors close behind me, and I descend into the noise and light of the city, free, confident, at peace.